Hello guys and welcome back. Today I'm going over the possibility of flying vehicles in Borderlands 3 and how that would potentially work. Because I think a shared moment a lot of us have is when we first got to the dust in Borderlands 2 and you see all the buzzards in the huge open space, and I think a lot of us just thought about, will we ever get to fly these? Which unfortunately we didn't in that game, but it's not too late for the sequel. So with that, let's get right into it. So as I said before, the idea to fly has basically been around since Borderlands 2. After the release of Borderlands 2, but before any of the DLC was released, Gearbox, or more specifically Randy Pitchford, did an interview with Kotaku and talked a lot about potential upcoming content for his game. But just keep in mind this article is 5 years old, so his mindset could have changed on a lot of this. Pitchford teased that while the team wanted to make sure the core campaign featured a good co-op transport, more vehicles will be made available in future DLC installments. Then he goes on to say, quote, "We looked at a lot of vehicles, including things with less than 4 wheels. We've always viewed vehicles as transportation. It's not a driving game, but it is a big world and parts of the game having expansive spaces, so going faster than on foot is a good thing. We didn't want to consume memory and performance with an uber complicated vehicle system though, so we prioritized. Having a vehicle that can fit 4 players and still be fun to use was the highest priority. Since we finished the game, we started with some new ideas that we expect will show up in DLC. So that's where he kind of ended it, but then we learn a little bit more at the community day in Dallas, where he talks about having to always want to ride one of those sand skiffs from Return of the Jedi, which we did end up seeing in the Captain Scarlet DLC. And then someone also asked the question, any word on flying vehicles for DLC missions? And Randy Pitchford just answered word as a tongue-in-cheek dad joke basically. But I'll link to that full article down below if you guys want to see all of it. So something important to note from that is the memory on last gen consoles was mentioned as a limitation for any type of crazy vehicle, because they would rather have more gameplay and guns and cool playable mechanics than lots of vehicles. Which I understand that if it came down to it, because even if we did have crazy vehicles but Gearbox then had to take away locations, that wouldn't make too much sense. So there needs to be a good balance, and I think Gearbox for the most part found it in Borderlands 2. There's a ton of areas that was fine. However, with the prospect of going to other planets, it'd be awesome to even maybe just have some sort of control going from planet to planet maybe. That's always an option, maybe like flying a rocket or some sort of vehicle. Gearbox could even beat Destiny to that, because if you've ever played that, you know that your ship just sits in space as a loading screen. It's a big thing, not really, but it's funny. Then also just they would add better vehicle customization to what they already have, and then Gearbox would be golden. And another thing worth mentioning is that most likely we'll probably never see vehicles that we can control on a planet that also include walking areas. It is super hard to balance and very game breaking, being able to fly anywhere, and with Gearbox's love of death walls, which if you don't know, once you get to a certain part of the map, like you can get killed off like instantly. Like they put boundaries so you just can't get anywhere and break the game. And then also all the mechanics that just go into a flying vehicle, like landing the vehicle, launching off, the weapons, flight, driving, jumping out of it. It'd just be crazy, and it'd be a lot of things to try to manage. And I think Gearbox could if they wanted to prioritize it, but I think they still just want to focus on gameplay for the time being. And to combat that system, I guess if Gearbox did want to include flight inside walking areas, I think it would require certain story missions or achievements to be unlocked before the players are rewarded with flying, so it's not just something we get immediately. Which makes sense, and I feel like it makes it more of a reward if you spend a lot of time running or driving all throughout the game, everywhere. So when you finally do get to fly through the wasteland, it feels epic and you finally got it. And that's a feature that a lot of games have been taking up. Like Final Fantasy has been doing that for a long time. And other popular ideas of how Gearbox could include flight. People want certain missions that just require flying, but I just get flashbacks to those bad PS2 games that all had just 1 or 2 awful vehicle levels, even when it didn't make any sense in the game, that the developer would just throw in there to try to spice it up. And I don't think we need that. That does not fit with Gearbox at all. Another idea I've seen thrown around is a Buzzard Slaughter Dome. This is actually something that I could see fitting with Gearbox and working. If Gearbox made it similar to the Creature Slaughter Dome, maybe as a pre-order bonus to appease 2K, and then after launch have it available for purchase. But the general idea is just adding an area where we're in a Buzzard. You're in the Buzzard for the entire arena, you can't get out, you can't fall to the ground. Where you just fly around and fight other Buzzards in waves, a boss comes, you get loot that way. Maybe only one Vault Hunter Buzzard is allowed in, so if you have multiple people in your party, like 3 other people, they just all stay in your Buzzard too. Maybe they can control guns or they sit on the outside and shoot their guns, but that way so there's not 4 different Vault Hunters all controlling, all getting everywhere, ramming into each other, causing problems. So I could see that potentially being something Gearbox wants to add, but really it's up in the air. And I know I sound kind of, oh, like it won't happen, but with the new console limitations or memory for the most part, like PS4, Xbox One, there is a lot more possibilities for what Gearbox can do. And I actually have another video coming out with breaking down the idea of multiple seasons of DLC, which I'm really excited about just because now since memory is so much greater, Gearbox could do 2 full seasons, so 8 campaigns of story DLC potentially for Borderlands 3 depending on size and scope of the game itself. Which that's a whole nother video, but I'm excited. But let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think that flying vehicles and everything that go along with it would be a waste of resources? Or if not, how would you implement it? Just let me know. I'm super curious. Maybe we can figure out a better way than what I thought of and what other people have been thinking of. But thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and see you guys in the next one.